so hyped from that DJ set. Oh my gosh. Welcome everyone though to the next panel. This is Fireside Chat with Yaya Han. I'll be your panel moderator, Michelle Wynn Bradley. Before we start, I wanted to share that we are honored to share that in lieu of an appearance fee, Yaya has asked that we make a donation to the Bail Project, which Funimation has graciously agreed to. So a little bit about the Bail Project. It provides critical tools to prevent incarceration and combat racial and economic disparities in the bail system. You can find out more about that at bailproject.org. So a little bit about Yaya Han, who you may have heard of before. Yaya Han is a cosplayer, a designer, an author. She really does it all. She's a household name in fandom. Yaya has made over 385 costumes. I'm sure that number is growing like as I speak right now. She's appeared as a guest at hundreds of events all over the globe, and she's been featured on 2 US network TV shows. Yaya is the first cosplayer to create a cosplay-focused fabric line for Joann Fabric and craft stores. She's also the first to design cosplay patterns for a line for a major pattern company, McCall's Patterns. I'm sure you guys have seen those where you're rustling through patterns in Joann's. She's also the first cosplayer to launch partnerships with global brands such as Bernina Sewing Machines and Dremel Tools, one of my personal faves. Her new book, Yaya Han's World of Cosplay, is available in North America on August 4th, 2020. So that's very soon. So without further ado, I'm very excited to be here to chat with arguably the most famous cosplayer in the world, Yaya Han. Hi!
Hi, Michelle. Hi, everyone.
How are you, Yaya?
I'm good. I'm very excited to be here. I'm very excited to, have the chance to be social since we can't be at a con this weekend. So we're at Funimationcon. So
yay. Awesome. Partying at home, but together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Before we start, I did want to tell you that I know this is like a fireside chat and we don't have any fire, and also it's the middle of like the summer, but I did candle fee. So this is something that I couldn't do at a real convention because it's illegal. But I did.
Yes.
Oh, it's not lighting. Ouch. Okay, I got a little burnt. Here's your fire.
Thank you. I love it. Let's go. Right. Let's do this.
So I'm gonna let that burn next to the microphone. Hopefully nothing bad happens. I'm sure it'll be fine. So Yaya, what have you been up to this summer? Are you excited for this? Is this the first online convention you've been to this summer?
Yeah, this is the first weekend I'm doing something cosplay and convention related in months. I have a couple of my personal ones. I've been making face masks. This has been my life since April. This is all I've been doing. We've donated to some hospitals, but I also have been making them for the public. So it's literally what's keeping my small business going. I've been able to continue working. My team, a very small team of employees, they're also sewing at home. They're cosplayers. So, we had all sewing machines already. We all knew how to sew. So it was like, let's do this. And so that's mainly what we've been doing. And it's a weird year, man. It's last year I went to close to 20 conventions, and this year I've been to KatsuCon. That's it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That was the last one kind of before the gates closed on everything.
Yup, basically.
Well, I'm glad you've been keeping busy, and thank you so much for coming to FunimationCon, the inaugural FunimationCon.
Yes, I love it. Yeah.
And for everyone
tomorrow, I'm going to be watching all the content. Today I've been too busy, so tomorrow
will be the day. So for everyone in chat, there will be a Q&A, which is happening at the end towards the end of the panel. So if you want to submit, make sure that you are not in full screen, and if you look to the right of the chat, there's a Q&A button. Click that, and you can submit questions there, and we will answer as many as we can at the end of the panel. Okay, so Yaya, we are here to talk about your brand new book, Yaya Han's World of Cosplay, coming out on August 4th. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, I have it with me. I have to hold it up now.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to talk like this for the rest of the panel. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, it's called Yaya Han's World of Cosplay, and it is something that I never thought I could actually hold in my hand. But yeah, I wrote a book, my first time author right here. So It focuses on the last 20 years of cosplay, which I like to call the modern cosplay, like the evolution of modern cosplay. And I happened to start cosplay 20 years ago. I actually started at Anime Expo 1999. That was my first convention. And so it's kind of like I've been a part of the evolution of cosplay. So through following my journey, I hope that the reader can follow along to how cosplay has developed. So
That's great.
yeah.
I mean, so why did you like? What inspired you to write this? Like, what gave you the impetus to be like, okay, now's the time. I need to write my story down.
Well, I've wanted to write a book for several years because cosplay is the thing that I know the most. It's something that I've devoted my life to. Like I could not write a book about any other subject except this. And so I always wanted to, but it was very daunting because this is a very, very complex subject. It's a whole world. And so it wasn't until a publisher approached me a few years ago, Sterling Books, they were like, we're looking for someone to write a cosplay book. And I was like, this is it. It's got to do it. But it was the toughest thing I've ever done. Harder than making any costume, harder than being on Heroes of Cosplay, harder than, doing anything. But I was able to finish the manuscript actually last June, at the beginning of June. So it's been exactly a year since I've submitted it. So.
Well, congratulations. You mentioned that it was like the hardest thing that you've done. What are some things that you found like really difficult about it?
Well, how to puzzle it together, because there's so much to say. There's so much that I want to talk about that I had to figure out how to structure the book and how to weave a journey through it. And also, I don't want to speak for everyone because everybody's cosplay experience is very personal. So that's why this book is called the Yaya Han's World of Cosplay and not the World of Cosplay, because it's not, a history book. It's not a, textbook. It's not a reference book. It's more half autobiography and half, cultural sociology. And so I'm like, I want people to be able to relate to it, but also if there are differences in opinions, that's totally okay too. Like this is my experience. This is what have gone through in the last 20 years. But yeah, I do tackle a lot of different subjects in it. And I not only how the community developed, but also like what are some of the pitfalls? What are some of the advantages? Why you should cosplay? Why we cosplay? Like what compels us to make these outfits and dress up as these characters? What do we get out of it deep inside? And then you get to learn about a little bit my history, where I come from. I was born in China, grew up in Germany, came over here. And so that's the other reason why the book was hard to write, because English is actually my third language. I speak Chinese and German. And so trying to write a book in English, it was actually difficult to express myself sometimes because like my grammatical and like expression, it ends up jumbling. Like there's some, German, sentence structure in there.
It's all rumbling around there. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, I only barely speak two languages, and it's still like I get things all muddled all the time. So, I mean, congratulations on finishing your book. It's printed. It's coming out. We are so excited to hear.
Printed.
We're so excited to hear more about it, and I think it's going to be a really amazing tool for everybody in the cosplay community, or just people who go to conventions, or just curious about it. So. Everyone in the audience, welcome to this fireside chat where Yaya will be reading some excerpts from her book. So you guys get a special exclusive sneak preview. Just so you know, some of the passages that she'll be reading will be truncated for time, so they're not like completely verbatim, word for word. And the first chapter that we are going to cover is called Negativity and Cosplay. Can't we all get along? So let's hear this chapter, Yaya.
Thank you. Yeah, I chose to read this excerpt because I think it's really important to not omit this subject. And I feel like it, especially now that we only have the internet, like we don't have conventions, like a lot of the negativity I talk about is based on the online social media world. So like right now, I feel like we really need to know this more than ever. So without further ado, let me start. This is part 4, chapter 11, negativity in cosplay. Why can't we all get along? It may come as a surprise to hear about negativity in a community where everyone plays elaborate games of dress up. However, after 20 years of cosplaying, I could fill a book with all the unkind comments people have said about me. Many other cosplayers could too. It's easy to view cosplay as a fun escape from the real world with its ultra geeky premise, but we are not free from real world issues. In the next few chapters, I will talk about why negativity exists in the cosplay community and how you can deal with it. The very nature of cosplay makes it vulnerable to criticism. Just like art, music, and writing, when you create something, it becomes open to judgment, regardless of whether you want it or not. Creators know that this comes with territory of sharing their work, but cosplay has an added caveat. You are the final product. As cosplayers, we're not only putting our crafting abilities to the test, we present ourselves as part of the finished costumes. Our faces, bodies, skin tones, and ethnicities are open to judgment along with the quality of our costumes. In the first few years that I cosplayed, I got super upset over negative comments. It got to the point where I would break down in tears in front of my computer. Sometimes I would reply to comments in defense, explaining why my shoes were not accurate or why I didn't wear a better wig. However, that only made things worse. My replies seemed to spur the critics on, and the subsequent comments would spiral out of control into nasty expletives. Every time my adrenaline would kick in, my heart would start beating rapidly. Feelings of hurt, anger, indignation, and dread all swirled together as I refreshed the screen and awaited the next reply. No, attack. My entire body would heat up while a cold shiver shot up my spine. The pounding in my ears would become so loud that I couldn't hear anything else. It took a long time for me to understand that what I was encountering again and again was a form of abusive online behavior. There's some folks who are rude enough to make nasty comments to a cosplayer's face, but most of the time, such criticism happens anonymously, or at least behind an online username or persona. In the cosplay and fandom world, we call this behavior trolling, and has become a blanket term for all acts of negative commenting. Trolls are haters for no reason. Their purpose is to leave shitty comments that make you feel bad. There's no way to control them because they do it for fun and to anyone and everyone. At least that's what we tell ourselves. Don't feed the trolls is a common saying amongst cosplayers. The implication is that ignoring the comments can solve all our problems. However, as I can tell you from personal experience, seeing those comments at all still takes a mental toll on you. Let's be real here. We can't blame trolls for everything. The criticism we face as cosplayers is multi-layered. It comes not only from trolls, but also the general public, and even from members of the cosplay community itself. These commenters single out factors such as not looking like the character, having the wrong body type for a cosplay, or wearing a costume that's not accurate enough. These kinds of remarks often stem from ignorance and misconceptions, and they're left in reply to cosplayers' social media posts with little regard for how they affect the people on the receiving end. In particular, being told that you're the wrong race or gender to cosplay a character is deeply personal and painful because there are physical attributes that you can't do anything about. With that in mind, I won't say don't feed the trolls. Rather, I want to explore the reasons behind these negative behaviors and then talk about how we can combat them. What drives most cosplayers is the desire to dress up as fictional characters who inspire them. Many are created as mythical beings. They're gods, aliens, or superhumans in peak physical shape with perfect facial features. In other words, they are a fantasy. Moreover, some of these characters have become significant beyond the works in which they were featured. They're cultural icons, beloved by millions, and familiar figures we grew up watching. At their best, some of them have helped us through dark times in our personal lives and continue to inspire us every day. It is completely normal for fans to develop feelings of ownership over a character. Hardcore fans know everything about their favorite characters, from their backstories to their motivations and even their favorite foods. These fans also have an idealized image of what their favorite characters look like. It is impossible to expect an average person to meet the standard of appearance set by digitally created characters. However, since cosplayers choose to emulate these characters, I think it's easier to compare them to the original designs and point out the differences. You don't look like Wonder Woman becomes, you don't represent Wonder Woman as I see her in my mind. That's a comment I received, by the way, word by word. This brings me to my next point, accuracy. As I previously discussed in Chapter 10, Going Beyond Recreations, there is a misconception that cosplay is all about accuracy and that the end goal is to replicate a costume and a character's look as closely as possible. The pressure to achieve such accuracy can hinder cosplayers more than help them. And 100% screen accurate costumes sometimes require materials and tools that not everyone can access. On a fundamental level, what does accuracy even mean in cosplay? Even if we only look at official canon character designs, there are endless variations from many fictional characters. DC Comics' Batman, for example, has been depicted with dozens of different costumes and looks throughout the years in every form of media imaginable. Add the fact that more and more cosplayers are now creating their own original designs and alternate universe versions of characters, and there's truly no way to regulate which costumes can be considered accurate or inaccurate. Live action film costumes may offer some clearer guidance than comics or animation when it comes to materials or how the final product should look in the real world, but you don't have to use the same exact materials or techniques to recreate the outfit. When it comes to translating a drawn design from anime, comic books, or video games into a real wearable garment, cosplay embodies a wide variety of interpretations. Part of the fun of cosplay is that one character can inspire 100 differently executed costumes that employ unique materials and crafting techniques. There is no right or wrong way to make a costume, and you can't enforce your perception of a character onto another person. I'm here to remind us that cosplay is a personal form of expression. It is not about who you look like, but rather who you want to be. There's no difference between wearing a Captain America t-shirt or dressing up as Captain America. Both fans are expressing their admiration for the character. All right. As cosplay continues to grow and expand, we need to keep an open mind and think of the new people joining our community. They're the most vulnerable to negativity. There are a few long-standing serious issues that have tested the cosplay community time and time again. So let's take a closer look at some of them and talk about how we can address the issues to make the cosplay community better. So that's the end of the expert search, but basically what I continue doing is this is the opening chapter for a number of chapters that cover everything from body shaming and, cosplayers being sexualized, plus size cosplayers, their struggles, and racism and blackface in cosplay. So I feel like that is very important to understand that people, like normal people, think that if you cosplay, you need to look exactly like the character. So if your skin tone is not right or your costume is not exact, then they have the right to criticize you and point it out to you. And that is, I think, a huge reason why there is so much negativity in this whole community.
Yeah, and you are absolutely right. Like your words really ring true to me. I just think that like it takes people so long to kind of get to the place where they realize that like exactly what you said, that cosplay is a form of self-expression. So like any way you do it is right because there is no wrong way to do it. And I love that you said that. It makes me feel a lot of feelings.
Yeah,
so
it's so weird. Yeah. It's like as cosplay has become bigger, it's like the people that see us dressed in costume, they're not in our community anymore. They're like fans of the characters, but they're just like, well, why don't you look like Wonder Woman? You know, you're Asian. Are you not supposed to cosplay, you know, Psylocke and not Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
And
that type
I,
of.
I feel that so deep in my heart. But again, like you, like we know we've been doing this long enough. If you want to do it, just do it and just have fun with it, and don't be crappy to newcomers because they're our future.
Yep. Yep.
Well, thank you so much for addressing negativity. I want to talk about your next excerpt, which will be a section that gives advice on self care in the cosplay world, something that we all need to do because a lot of cosplayers just run themselves ragged making things and spending all their time on the internet. And I just, I really like this chapter. So this section is titled Yaya's Advice Transforming Negativity into Positivity. So why don't you go ahead, Yaya?
Yes. So this comes after the chapters where I address the different issues in cosplay and explore those specific issues. And so this closes out this part 4, transforming negativity into positivity. Let's first talk about self-care. What has helped me most on my journey to have overcome negative thoughts is striving to actively understand the reasons behind them. I've also found it important to implement simple self-care methods that allow me to deal with issues in the moment. These are guidelines that I follow not only in cosplay, but in everyday life as well. Ignore, delete, ban. On my social media platforms, if I receive a comment that crosses the line for me, I ignore the commenter, delete the comment, and ban the poster from my page. I have a pretty high tolerance, but there's still plenty of comments that veer into the range of hate speech, obscenities, and trolling. Regardless of where you decide to set your boundaries, when someone crosses them, do not respond to their words. This is your platform, and you don't have to leave their comments up if it upsets you or your audience. Delete the comment, ban the user, and move on. It's not personal. One thing that helped me a lot was coming to understand the psychology of online trolls. It is a power play for them, and usually the goal is to get a reaction out of the cosplayer. The negative comments I receive say more about the commenter than about me. They highlight the commenter's own insecurities, prejudices, anger, and hurt. Remove yourself from their agendas. The comments are not personal, so don't give them the satisfaction of a response. It's okay to be affected. Oh, I am trying to, Here's the truth. Even if you tell yourself that the negative comments are not personal, even after ignoring, deleting, and banning, sometimes the words you read leave a stinging impact. You can't unsee comments or unfeel emotions. I used to get upset at myself for taking a slight personally. I felt as though I was not strong enough to fight the negativity. But in truth, some comments do hit harder than others, and it's not a sign of weakness to feel affected. When I made Gamora's white armor from the Guardians of the Galaxy comic book series, I received a number of negative comments on the craftsmanship and look of the costume. It really bummed me out because I worked super hard on it for 5 weeks. Only after acknowledging that I was affected and letting the emotions run their course was I able to move on. The great thing is that no matter how bad you feel, it will pass. I promise you that. Trust that your body and mind will feel better as you process your emotions with time. Don your imaginary armor. I learned that I have good days when I feel confident and ready to take on anything, but I also have bad days when I'm more susceptible to negativity. I do my best to look at comments and messages when I'm mentally prepared. I suit up in my imaginary armor, so to speak. Before you do the same, make a mental list of all the things you're grateful for. Think of the good things going on in your life and remember why you love cosplay or whatever else you're engaged in. These thoughts can give you more perspective and strength when you tackle a difficult subject or face some kind of setback during your day. Take social media breaks. Especially after a situation where you get hit with negativity, it is important to take breaks from social media. This is something I still personally struggle with, but I do my best to get off the apps and websites and do something different instead. Watch a funny show, go for a walk, snuggle with your pet. Whatever you do, just take time for yourself. Come back when you're ready. Reach out to your support network. Sometimes it really helps to vent to your loved ones, be it family or friends. In hard times, we can feel really alone in our thoughts. When you have a support network to reach out to, though, it can make a world of difference. I choose to do this in private, or at least in a closed setting, instead of venting in public, because my platforms are large enough that it can generate a lot of noise. I do not want to counter negativity with more negativity. On the other hand, serious incidents of abuse, stalking, doxing, and harassment should be reported to the appropriate authorities. Never stay quiet if you're afraid for your safety or well-being. Dealing with negativity has strengthened me as a person and taught me how to navigate many challenges in my life outside of cosplay. I can look back and genuinely say that a lot of issues don't bother me anymore because I understand the reasonings behind them. It is freeing and allows me to have a more positive and happier life. Next section is building a community of positivity. Now let's look at how we can work together to make the cosplay community a more positive space. From interacting with one another to supporting initiatives, here are some ways for you to actively influence the climate of the cosplay community. Inject critique with compassion. In a creative space such as cosplay, critique is invaluable and can be a great way to learn and improve your skills. However, when critical comments are left carelessly, as they often are, on something you've worked hard to create, they can be more demoralizing rather than motivational. There is a way to critique compassionately by pausing for a moment before commenting to consider how the critique could benefit the creator. Simple considerations such as reading the captions before asking a question or acknowledging that you don't know the circumstances behind a project can go a long way. Wait until the creator asks for constructive criticism before sharing it. And if you can't think of something nice to say, sometimes it's better to smile and move on. Support fellow creators. The best way you can create positivity in this community is to support your peers. Follow cosplayers, photographers, and other creators. Share those people with your network. Take time out of your day to like and comment on the posts you scroll past in your timeline. Give a compliment, affirmation, or encouragement can make a big difference, and they might just reciprocate. Embrace your online community. Join groups and communities with your interests and share your knowledge and experiences in those areas. I know it can feel vulnerable to put yourself out there, but engaging actively rather than passively can help foster a deep and lasting connection with your passion and give meaning to your craft. You can choose the level of engagement you want to have and expand your circle at your comfort level. Being active in a community for the sake of the community and not just for yourself will give you many layers of joy in return. Engage at events. Another great way to spread positivity is to become actively engaged at events. Most conventions have volunteer programs, and it's also possible to apply as staff at your local con. If you have valuable knowledge and experience, consider teaching a panel or offering to host an event. Help out with the behind-the-scenes aspect of a cosplay contest or suggest cosplay programming and accomplished cosplayers as guests to a con. You can even set up a local get-together or a cosplay photo shoot outside of a convention. Whatever you do, engage actively. Support a charity or cause. Cosplay is a great way to participate in charitable efforts. Some cosplayers create solo charity campaigns and pledge support to causes that are important to them. And there are many great nonprofit organizations within the fandom community that you can join. All over the United States, fan-organized costuming charities such as Costumers with a Cause and the Avengers Initiative have formed. They and the Heroes Alliance, a charity organization with chapters around the world, organize for volunteer cosplayers to visit sick children in hospitals and to speak at schools. And just for example, today this stream benefits the Bail Project because I think that's a very important organization to support right now with so many people protesting and being arrested. And it really is important to give people a way to bail themselves out of jail. You know, the Bail Project will bail you out if you don't have the money to. And so I'm very, very happy that Funimationcon agreed to help me support the charity. Be the change you want to see. The goal for many of us is to foster a diverse and welcoming cosplay community.
Yeah,
and the easiest way you can help is to share and highlight those people you want to see represented more. If you want to see more media features on male cosplayers, more interviews with plus-size cosplayers, more photos of Black cosplayers, or more emphasis on craftsmanship-heavy costumes, share those cosplayers. Leave positive comments on their posts and encourage more people to follow them on social media. Help them become more visible and show your support for their efforts through active participation. And I think we're going to stop there for time, correct?
Yeah.
Yay!